Are dragons evil? Are angels evil? And what exactly is the difference between dragon and angel energy? In today's video, I am going to address all of these things and more. But first, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Hannah, and I help people to own their powers and step into the driver's seat of their own lives. Today, we're going to be doing that by helping you to understand the difference between dragon energy and angel energy and what makes each energy special, so you can decide which energy would be best for you to channel right now as of watching this video. But first, are dragons evil? If you followed me for any amount of time, I think you will know already that my answer is a big, fat, resounding no. But that's not going to stop me from addressing this, because if you've ever seen the comments on any of my videos, for example, you will see, well, maybe you won't see because a lot of times I just delete them, but there's a lot of people that come Bible thumping at me, telling me that I'm evil and of the devil because I talk about dragons and dragon energy. And there's this deep subconscious association in our culture that dragons are evil and wrong, and there's something wrong with you, there's something bad about you if you work with dragons, which is complete bullshit, by the way. And on the flip side of the coin, are angels evil? Now, this one is one you don't hear so often, but maybe if you're watching this and you identify, like myself, as more of a dragon soul with more dragon energy yourself, you might have had feelings that angels are evil or that you just can't trust them. Because true facts, friends, I don't know if I've ever talked about this on this channel before, but I was very sketched out by angels for a very long time. It wasn't until very, very recently that I felt that I couldn't trust angels. I did not resonate with them at all. I did not want to work with them. When people would say that they're channeling Archangel Michael or whatever, I didn't want anything to do with that. Complete honesty, true facts. And this is despite my main spirit guide, who I've been aware of since I was a small child, being an angel. So my main spirit guide is actually my guardian angel, and I became aware of him when I was a young kid back in Catholic school. That said, I will say this guide also has dragon energy, so it's you don't have to have dragon or angel energy. It's possible for many beings to have both frequencies and even more, and maybe you yourself hold both frequencies. We can get more into that later in this video when I talk about what makes each frequency special. But basically, this mistrust of angels, I realized as I've kind of done more work with my soul, it exists, at least for me, as a dragon soul, as a dragon person, because at one point there was a really nasty war between dragons and angels. Let me know in the comments, really actually, if you feel that this is true, if this resonates. When I say that, do you feel that? Does that resonate? Have you heard of this before? Because I believe I've only heard of one person before talking about this. Other than that, it was just this deep knowing that I've always had since forever, that there was this war, and I've had kind of memories of this war, angels versus dragons. And because I myself hold more of this dragon polarity, by default, I find the angels to be kind of untrustworthy. I feel like they're gonna take advantage of me. I just can't trust them, really. That's what it boils down to. And I know the flip side is true, where angelic soul people, such as my best friend, have always felt that way about dragons, that they can't really trust dragons. And you find many of these angelic soul people actually in Christian communities, in religious communities, which is why so many religious people will be oh, dragons are evil, dragons are the devil and stuff. It comes down to their soul being involved at some point in this big war that happened between the dragons and the angels. And honestly, I can't say much more about that. I don't know much more about it right now, other than that there was a war. If you're curious to learn more about that, let me know in the comments, and let me know what your specific questions are, because maybe that's something I can give to the dragons and the angels, and they will channel for me like answers on the specifics of this war. But all you need to know for now is that there was a war, and so now there are energies on both sides being like, oh, dragons are evil, oh, angels are evil, you can't trust dragons, you can't trust angels, because at one point that soul held a polarity that was opposite the other polarity. And now I feel like I'm just getting like into super jargon and like losing you, so let's bring it back down to earth, shall we? So essentially, why am I even making this video? Well, it's been a long time coming, because people ask me like all the time, like, what is dragon energy? What is fairy energy? What is angelic energy? Like asking me about these different like mythical creatures, spiritual beings, and like what makes their energy special. Okay. And particularly a video on angels has been a long time coming, because I have personally felt sketched out by them. And finally, I can say I no longer feel sketched out by them because of an experience I had with my best friend, who happens to be an angelic soul, as she recently came to understand it. And so my best friend just got the hit to do some archangelic Reiki on me. And so she did, and it was a profound experience. I feel like I got to experience like a positive side of angelic energy for maybe like the first time ever. And I was really able to understand and experience what makes angelic energy special without the biases that my soul has been holding. And then we were talking, and I got the like hit that like me and my best friend are kind of like the fox and the hound. If you're aware of this like Disney movie, it's like there's a fox and this hound that is like kind of meant to grow up and hunt foxes, and they're supposed to be enemies, but when they're young and they're innocent, they become best friends, and then they kind of go their separate ways. And I got the hit that like me and my best friend are kind of like the fox and the hound. It's like we come from these different factions that are supposed to be enemies or whatever, but we came together as friends in this life to heal those differences, to harmonize those differences. And so through me, this friend is learning more about dragon energy and how to work with it in a positive way. And through my friend, I'm learning about angelic energy and how to work with that in a positive way. And we're healing these kind of like multi-dimensional gaps between the two energies, which is super, super cool. And so I thought I would also do that for the collective. If there's anyone out there on either side of the polarity feeling sketched out by dragons or sketched out by angels, to kind of bridge that gap for you. So hopefully you can understand the other side. And then even after this experience, I will say I was still like resistant to make this video, but then at my meetup group, it just randomly came up, this difference between dragon energy and angel energy. And we had like this really in-depth discussion about dragon versus angel energy. And then like someone at the group was working with the angels and having a great time and was happy that I like introduced her to dragons and the dragon energy. And then like someone else like me was sketched out by angel energy, and I was like, oh, so I'm not the only one that's sketched out by angels. I'm sure there's many others too. So it's time to make this video and, you know, set these things right, make them clear for the collective. And I would say this is maybe the first in a series that I'm going to do where I spotlight a different type of spiritual being, a different type of energy, because that's all that spiritual beings are. All any of us are at the end of the day is energy. And so I'm going to get into what angels are, what fairies are, what mermaids are, what unicorns are, dragons, all of this fun stuff. And from my experience, contrast in this 3D reality is the best teacher. That means we learn best by comparing experiences. And so I'm going to use for this series dragons as the base point, because probably if you're watching this, probably if you're on my channel, you resonate with the dragons and you're familiar with dragon energy and probably are a dragon soul to some degree. That just tends to be my audience. That tends to be how people find me here on YouTube. So we're going to use the dragon energy as a base point. And then in this series, we're going to compare dragon energy to these other energies that I'll be spotlighting in each video. And today's spotlight is angelic energy, aka angels. So first off, what makes angel energy different from dragon energy? Well, one thing that I noticed is that angelic energy tends to be very masculine, actually, which kind of goes against my stereotypes that I had in my head as a kid. I always thought of angels as being like feminine and women and like just this very feminine energy, honestly. And it's like in culture, a lot of times you'll say like a woman is an angel, but you don't maybe describe men with that as much. But yet, if you look to the archangels, I would say more often than not, the archangels tend to hold more of a masculine energy and a masculine presence. And I will also say, caveat, not just for angels, not just for this video, but for all of it when I talk about this stuff. I'm just talking about like the overall energy, the overall pattern. There's always going to be exceptions to the pattern. There's always going to be exceptions to the rule. That's why when I talk about dragons, I like to say EDID, E-D-I-D. Every dragon is different. I can talk about dragons all day and like what makes dragon energy special, and then you will probably have a unique experience that you'll then want to comment on and be like, well, I had this experience with the dragon. There's no hard and fast rules. That's what's important to note here. There's no hard and fast rules with these spiritual beings, these spiritual entities, these energies, because they are very fluid. So there's always going to be exceptions. Now, that said, in general, in my experience, angelic energy tends to be very masculine. And really what that means, we have to detach like masculine energy from men and feminine energy from women, though there can be that correlation. At the end of the day, these are just energies. And what I see masculine energy as is it tends to be more like structured, okay? And that's what I get from angels. It's so hard to put this stuff into words because it's an experience. When energy is an experience and it's hard to put it into words. But if I could put it into words, I'd say it's very structured. Angel energy is more like stabilized than dragon energy. Dragon energy tends to, in a way, be more feminine and more chaotic, more unpredictable, more free, more fluid than angel energy. It's like you never really know what you're going to get with dragon energy. With angels, you can more or less expect what you're going to get. What you call for is likely what you're going to get. Dragon energy, and I talk about this too in this video where I talk about dragons being associated with divine feminine energy. I also did one on dragons being associated with divine masculine energy. What I find cool about dragon energy is I actually think it can be quite split between dragons showing up as feminine or masculine energies. Really, dragons are very, very fluid in that regard. I think that might be what makes them special, because these other like spiritual beings that I've connected with, like they tend to like generally hold one polarity more so than the other. But in my experiences with dragons, they shift so freely between these feminine versus masculine energies. They kind of will like take whatever is needed in that moment and like be that energy. But again, overall, we're talking about angels, and I would say in general, the angelic energy tends to be masculine. If you want like a visual on how this is, I like to think of like feminine and masculine energy as like soup and a soup bowl. feminine energy is just like this soup that just like flows. It doesn't really have a form. It just kind of adapts to the form that it's given. The soup bowl contains that flow, the soup, and it gives it form. So that's the angelic energy, is like they come in with this like stabilizing, structured presence. They can create this container around things. They can give it form. Point number 2 about what makes angelic energy quite different from dragon energy, and also I would say most spiritual being energies, is that angels in general, again in general, there's always going to be exceptions, in general they don't have free will. They're kind of just like programs. They're kind of like AI in a way. They're like programmed to do a specific task, and they will do it without any free will of their own. Of course, there are dragons too like this that are more like programs that just kind of do what they're told. And I did a video on these dragons. They're called value dragons, or at least that's the name that I've given them. But in general, I would say dragons tend to have more free will and just do whatever the fuck they want. And angels, not so much. Of course, there are exceptions, like my main spirit guide. I understand he does, in a way, have free will. He tells me he has more free will than your average angel, but like less free will than a human or even like a full-fledged dragon, I guess. I don't know what it means. So on that note, point number 3 is that angelic energy, angels, they tend not to have incarnations on Earth or in the 3D or as like physical beings, or even as other beings other than like angels. It's very rare for like angels to incarnate as anything other than angels, or at least as anything other than like this highly spiritual being that's like vibrating at these super high frequencies. And I will say this is also something that kind of led to me being sketched out by them. I wasn't consciously aware of this, but in reflection, I can see this is what it is that I almost felt like condescended to by the angels, because it's like they don't understand what it's like to be a human. They don't understand what it's like to have free will. They don't understand what it's like to have this physical incarnation. So I just felt like there was a gap in understanding. And for me personally, that gap just felt frustrating at times. I felt condescended to, like they didn't understand me. Again, not true for every angel. Fun fact, I have always resonated with the archangel Metatron. I only recently realized that Metatron is one of like 2 archangels, I believe, that actually has had incarnations as a human. And like, well, there you go. That's why I always felt like I could trust him, that I understood him, that I could work with him freely, because he gets it, man. He gets it. He knows what it's like. So yeah, again, there's exceptions, but in general, angels don't tend to have these physical incarnations. They don't know what it's like. That said, something that's cool about angels is maybe they're more likely than the other spiritual beings to have like cameos as a human, or cameos like as a physical 3D being, where they will just like appear for a very brief period of time physically for people. And you will read about this like in the Bible. I grew up like going to Catholic school and like this cult non-denominational church, and also Methodist church, so I know all about Christianity. And there's all these like accounts, I guess, of like angels in the Bible, in Christianity, of angels taking physical form. I believe this is what was happening, is like these angels kind of temporarily made themselves physical to present themselves to humans in these ways. And something angels can also do is kind of possess humans. They can kind of temporarily take over a human vessel just to convey information. Of course, it's only for a short period of time, usually like no more than a few minutes tops, but that's actually a cool thing that they can do that doesn't tend to happen so much with other spiritual beings. So after my archangelic light Reiki session with my best friend, I very clearly got to feel that angelic energy. And what I would say it feels like compared to dragon energy is it's actually, they're like 2 sides of the same coin in a way, where it's intense. like dragon energy. Dragon energy and angel energy, both very intense. But if I could describe it, angelic energy is like tempered still. Even though it's intense, it's like gentler, it's softer, it's lighter, it's brighter than dragon energy. Dragon energy tends to be more wild, it can be rough, it can be really, really hard for most people if they don't have experience with dragon energy. It can be too much, it can be overwhelming for most people to work with the dragons, which is why I think angels have been more accessible in like the over culture up until now. More people are just aware of angels in their existence, that they're actual beings that exist. More people work with the angels than the dragons because it's just more accessible. The dragons, as I'm sure I don't need to tell people that are here on this channel, they will take you for a ride. And I talk about that up here in this video on dragon trials. It's not easy. They take you for a ride. And I'm used to that energy. I love it. I work with it. But when my friend did this session on me, I was like, wow, I think maybe I need to call in more angelic energy because I like how gentle this is and how soft it is compared to the dragon energy. It's no less potent than the dragon energy. It just feels completely different. It feels, I don't know, more respectful in a way. Like it's just gentle. It's nice. It's a breath of fresh air after spending my entire life like negating angel energy and working only with dragon energy. That's all I'll say on that. Also, like dragon energy, angelic energy is quite protective. Like I said, I just see it as creating this container, this shield around us and around our energy body. It's very, very protective, like the dragons. But again, it doesn't have like this wild, like fire-like quality that dragon energy has. If I could describe dragon energy's protectiveness, it's like fire. That's why dragons breathe fire. They often are associated with like the fire element and stuff. It's because their energy feels like fire, which can feel very intense. So for example, when I had my Reiki initiation, it wasn't specifically for dragon Reiki, but I think just being a dragon person, that's kind of what I woke up. I became so physically hot that I almost blacked out. My vision was going out. I was so close to blacking out. I literally had to lay down, and the Reiki like teacher had to like bring me water, and I had to chill and like sit out the rest of the initiation because I was like literally burning up from the inside out, like with this dragon energy. On the contrary, the angelic energy, when my friend sent it to me, it felt quite cooling, actually. It felt cool, and it was like just much softer than that dragon energy that I was used to. No less protective, just a completely different feeling. And so that basically sums up what I wanted to say about dragon and angel energy and the differences. As always, like, throw down in the comments, please and thank you. Like, have you worked with dragon energy? Have you worked with angelic energy? Like, what do you feel the differences are and the similarities are? I'm really, really curious as always. And maybe I'll make more videos, do more content on this, like as more things come to light. But in general, I wanted to kind of just end this being like, well, when do you employ dragon energy versus angelic energy? So I would say probably if you're on this channel, if you're watching this and you're more of a dragon person like myself, I would challenge you, I would dare you, I would invite you to call upon the angels for like a week or a couple weeks, maybe even a month, and see how your life changes, see how it's different. I think you'll find it to be kind of a relief, actually. That's what I've done since my friend's angelic light session with the archangelic light, whatever it's called. The angel energy, and like the difference is stark at how much gentler the angels have been and kind of how more stabilized and grounded I feel since calling on that specific energy. So if you feel like your life is too chaotic and out of your control and you're tired of the tower moments and the dragon trials, but you still want that energetic protection, that unconditional love, try calling on the angels and see what happens. Now, on the other hand, maybe you're used to working with the angels. Maybe you feel like you're kind of stuck, you're stagnant. In that sense, I would encourage you to call upon the dragon energy, because what dragons do really good is they create like instant change, quick change. It can lead you down some really uncomfortable roads at times. It can lead you to like burn down, let's say, your entire life. A good analogy for people that aren't familiar with dragon energy, it's like supercharged moldavite. Working with the dragons is like working with supercharged moldavite. It will change your life. And it will change your life really, really fast. So if you just feel stuck and you want change, call upon the dragons. But if things are too intense for you, call upon the angels, because they will take it slower. They're going to be much gentler with you, okay? So that said, I hope you have fun, friends, with both the dragons and the angels. There's no better time than the present to call upon these energies, to work with them. And maybe you want to work with both at the same time, or you want to work with a being like my main spirit guide that holds both frequencies. Whatever you choose, know that you are fully supported by both the dragons and the angels and all these spiritual beings in exploring and in channeling these higher frequency beings. So before we dip, as always, letting you know that me and the dragons will love you forever if you could like, subscribe, and engage with this video in some way, because it helps it get out to people that really need to hear this information and need to understand it. People that are being called maybe very subconsciously to work with the dragons or the angels, but aren't yet doing so. And you can play a part in that by engaging with this to kind of push it along to the algorithm and to share it with these people. So either way, friend, sending you much, much love on your journey. Stay powerful.